Hello, and welcome to Every Persona Explained, where we take a look at the origin and representation of every persona. And today we're taking a look at Cerberus. Firstly, let's talk about that name. The modern pronunciation has its name starting with a soft S sound. However, I pronounce it with a K sound. This is because when written in Greek, it starts with the letter kappa. No, not that one. Also not that one. Which makes the K sound. Also, I just think it sounds better. I'm not going to harp on how others pronounce it, but that's how it's going to be in this video. So Cerberus, three-headed hellhound who guarded the gates to the Greek underworld. Lost a wrestling match to Heracles, got charmed by Orpheus' music. Pretty simple, right? Well, about that, when researching for these videos, and anything really, I like to use primary documents as often as I can. Fortunately, we still have a lot of writings from ancient Greece. The how of this is long and involves the fall of empires and the rise of other empires, and I'm stalling. I'm stalling because none of the primary sources I found can agree on what Cerberus looks like. Firstly, we have Hesiod. In his Theogony, basically a Greek mythology Smash Brothers Ultimate, he claimed that Cerberus was a child of Typhon and Echidna, and siblings to Orthrus, the Lernaean Hydra, and also the Chimera, which you can learn about in this video. However, Hesiod claims that Cerberus had 50 heads. Apollodorus claims that he had 3 heads, but also he had the tail of a dragon or serpent, and had some snake heads on his back. Seneca claimed basically the same thing, but instead it was a mane of snakes. Sophocles, in his play Oedipus at Colonus, said that he had 3 heads and 3 bodies. Don't know how that works. A man named Hecataeus of Miletus, a 6th century BC historian, claimed that he was just straight up a giant snake, and that the term Hound of Hades was just a moniker and didn't actually mean that he was a dog. As you can see, no one can agree on what this thing looked like. The worst part about this, even with all of these disparate interpretations, Disney still got it wrong! Anyways, according to Hesiod, Cerberus also played an evil trick on those in the underworld. Now, what was this evil trick? Quote, on those going in he fawns with his tail and both ears. He plays with them. He's a good boy. That's the evil trick. Granted, if you try and leave, he eats you, which is bad, but who would want to leave with the giant good boy there? Cerberus doesn't appear too often in the mythology, possibly due to the Greeks not wanting to talk about the underworld because it was scary. He shows up during the tale of Orpheus in the underworld, where he gets pacified by Orpheus' music, but more famously he shows up during the 12 labors of Heracles. One of his labors, Heracles is tasked with retrieving Cerberus and bringing him out of the underworld. So Heracles goes to the underworld and explains to Hades his situation, and Hades agrees to let him try, but only if he doesn't use any weapons. Heracles agrees and successfully defeats Cerberus with the power of wrestling. So Heracles brought Cerberus up from the underworld, from somewhere. Like his appearance, no one can agree on where this happened. I found at least 8 possible locations, but the one that appeared the most often is this place called Tianaron. According to Pliny the Elder, a Roman author from the 1st century AD who was admittedly farther out than the rest of my sources, claimed that when Cerberus was brought out of the underworld, his saliva produced aconite when it hit the ground. Aconite is a plant that has a bunch of different names, but I know it best as wolfsbane. And that's Cerberus, the guardian of the underworld in Greek mythology. So, how's this in-game representation? I'm gonna level with you. I was ready to make fun of this design before I started researching for this video. Now though, I'm still gonna make fun of it. Seriously, there are all these different descriptions, and it's accurate to none of them. Yeah, I'd argue that the tail is fitting enough for some descriptions, but that's a lie. However, this isn't the only design used in this series. Persona 3's design is better, at least in terms of the modern image of Cerberus. The tail is a bit odd. I wouldn't call it a serpentine tail, but it's definitely not mammalian, so I'll count it. The wings are probably a reference to his Persona user, Koromaru, and the chains are also there. I don't understand. But I don't think they really clash with anything, so they get a pass. Those feet, though, we gotta talk about that. Firstly, they look really uncomfortable. Secondly, the pitchfork is common imagery in the modern concept of Christian hell. But that's not what the Greek underworld was. There were bad places for bad people to go, but it was also home to places like the Elysian Fields, which is where all of the heroes would end up. So that imagery I don't think fits very well. As for Arcana, oh boy. In 1 and the 2s, he's Fortune. In the 3s and Qs, he's Strength. In the 4s, he's Hierophant, and in the 5s, he's Chariot. Fortune actually works fairly well here, as it can mean fate or destiny, and it is the fate of all mortals to meet him. Hierophant also kind of works. It can mean tradition and religious beliefs, and Cerberus comes from ancient Greek tradition. Does that count? Strength and Chariot don't really seem to fit with any of the meanings I could find, so we'll say it does to make it an even. In P1, he gets a move called Venom Bites, which reflects the belief that monsters were venomous or poisonous. In Innocent Sin, he gets Feral Bites. He was known for eating those that tried to leave the underworld. That's fine. And Fire Breath, which doesn't fit his traditional descriptions, but fits the modern juxtaposition of the Greek underworld with Christian hell. And get ready for a lot of fire moves. His moveset is almost identical in Eternal Punishment, and after this, his moveset is rife with fire attacks. However, in the 3s and Qs, he also gets Dark moves, which I think is a better choice instead of fire moves due to the underworld being a very dark place. His trait is Heated Bloodline, which please refer to the last paragraph about the thing about the Greek underworld and Christian hell. When itemized, he produces either the skill card for Megaton Raid or God's Hand. The latter is somewhat appropriate as he is the guard dog of Hades. Overall, is it good? Yes and no. Is it bad? Also yes and no. Am I annoyed? 100%. Greece, get your act together. So the pattern of, yes, this will be simple, I already know most of this, only to find out that it's incredibly complicated and I don't know most of it, continues with this video, because I thought it'd be simple, I thought it'd be easy. He's the three-headed guard dog of the underworld. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. Except it's wrong. It's very wrong. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know who you want to see next in the comments down below. And I'll see you next time on Every Persona Explained.